A bit of a round of applause for that. Crave, come on up to the stage.
Hey, man.
How you doing?
I'm good. I hope you're not expecting a big argument here, because I feel like, based on previous conversations we've had, that you and I have fairly similar stances on things. I'm a realist, a naturalist.
That's cool.
I think I might lean a little more left than you. But I thought I'd just maybe throw some ideas at you. I think you know a bit more about politics than me, so
Okay.
we'll just kind of see where we go. I did want to comment on the last discussion. Again, I
Sure.
kind of
What you
feel
got
the
for
same
me?
as you. I tend to explain it more as, like you say, let people go where they're comfortable and keep the perverts out. Like, if someone is being a creep, expel them, because those people are going to do that regardless. It doesn't matter if they have an excuse, if they're wearing a wig, if they're hiding a camera. Like, these people are going to
Wait,
do
bro.
that.
Wait, bro. Crave, stop. Wait. How can you tell?
I mean, hey, that's the
There's
thing.
no way to tell.
I
You can't tell. How do you tell?
I get that, they may not be able to tell, but again, those people, it doesn't matter
No,
what
I'm
excuse
joking.
they
You can
have, they're
obviously
gonna do
tell.
it.
Like
Yeah,
I feel like a woman would have enough intuition to be able to like look at their surroundings and realize that somebody's being a creep. Like
yeah.
women feel that all the time. So like this idea that it's like you can't tell is like that's ridiculous. That's obvious.
Like, just, you're there to expel waste. Just do it and move on with your day. It's
Hmm.
not a big deal.
Yeah.
Let's see, what was the one before that? Leprechauns aren't real. Yeah, I don't agree. I'm sorry. I don't believe they are real. I agree they are not real. Um, the one before that, I don't care about definitions. I actually prefer if people use more plain language in discussions, talk like humans. I don't want to have a discussion with someone who's basically reciting a thesaurus. So no issues there.
Yeah.
Workplace democracy. Here we go. I agree with you
You
that the
got to come up
whole
with your
owning.
own argument, man, because that's the thing, right? Like if I have the same debate, what'll happen is like for the week, there will just be like one day it'll be workplace democracy, and then the next day workplace democracy. But
But as far
go
I
ahead.
I I I agree with your position that capitalism is necessary. We need some sort of medium with which to facilitate trade.
Whoa,
Money,
based,
currency is
based.
how we do that. I don't want to have to carry a couple chickens around with me everywhere I go.
Nice.
Um, so good there.
Hmm.
Owning the means of production. I mean, we do sometimes. We have farmers. We have people who own their own means of production. There is room for that to exist in America.
Well, do you have a
Co-ops are a
computer?
thing. I do.
You own the means of production right there. That's a
Yeah,
means of production. What do you think I'm doing right now? I'm producing
exactly.
the means.
Exactly. And
I'm not
capitalism
making, by
can
the way, I'm not making
facilitate
any
that.
money on this, just FYI. For anybody who thinks I make money doing this, I make nothing. Okay, not
I
a
know you
cent,
have.
guys. Not a cent.
I know you're on the grind though. You're
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
working on it.
Wouldn't it would be cool if I could like make a job out of just arguing with people all day.
I mean, it's
I would be so
it's
happy.
what I do all day. I just don't get paid for it. Um, However, I do have a thing. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Ben and Jerry's.
Okay.
They had a thing, and don't like quote me exact on this, but at one time when the original owners were in charge, they had a system in place where the highest paid worker could not make more than X times the lowest paid worker.
Mm-hmm.
So say the highest paid worker couldn't make more than 100 times the lowest paid worker.
Okay.
in any corporation. How
Okay.
would you feel about that as a means of?
Based. Great idea.
Okay.
It's an amazing
Oh,
idea. I literally have no issue with that. I have no
oh
issue with
hell,
that
man.
whatsoever. Yeah, I mean, I would say that would actually curb a lot of the problems that happen with the current kind of trickle down system that we still have today. I mean, we still have like instances of austerity politics, even with Joe Biden in place. And so like, yeah, I would be completely in agreement with that. Yeah.
And I agree with you on trickle down. I lived through Reagan, so I know what garbage that was and how horrible it was for our country in
Yeah.
general.
Well, I mean, we're
I,
still feeling it, right? Because if you look
yeah,
right now, like how productive Americans are compared to like what profits that they are generating, they really haven't really risen in their profits since the 1970s. It's been roughly equal, right? But the actual production has continued to increase just fine, and it was something happened.
well, okay, so here we go. And this is one of those things maybe you know a bit more about it than I do.
Yeah.
In my eyes, this whole "Make America Great Again" rhetoric, it's like harkening back to
So I'm
like
just
post World War II America.
I'm,
Like, is that when you think these people think
real
America was great?
real quick. I'm just gonna show for the class, right? My window capture here. So I'm just going to quickly link this. You can see we got right here, roughly around 1948 to 1973. You got the compensation as well as productivity had continuing to increase over time. And then around 1973, something happened.
So I have a question.
And
When did corporate taxes drastically drop? Like
well,
they
we
were
started
paying like
employing the austerity politics under Milton Friedman that kind of caused this problem to begin with, and it only exacerbated since Reagan. And so while our productivity has increased, our hourly compensation has not. And
yeah.
so under this basis, right, I'm perfectly okay with your idea. Hey, if a CEO shouldn't make more than 100 times of their lowest paid worker, this would actually benefit many Americans. It would actually also incur more spending. So this would actually be good for the corporations. I think everybody would benefit under this case.
I agree. I mean, and I came to you because I thought you might have some flaw with this, but hey, if you
Nope.
think it would work out.
Nope.
Um,
Unless, of course, wait, hold on. Maybe an economist would say against it, and not like Chicago school economists, but just your run of the mill, average, economists. Hold on. Is there an economic argument against what is it? Capping
Ratio?
CEO ratio to lowest worker? I don't know how to fucking phrase that. Hold on, let me see here.
You could try highest pay to lowest pay.
Decreased innovation? If
Yeah, I
incentives
don't
are
agree with that.
insufficient, capping CEO pay could make it harder
Oh,
to
yeah.
recruit and retain talented people. Ah, you could have an instance
That's
of brain drain. That may actually be an actual argument there.
well, the general argument I hear against just capping CEO pay in general
Capping executive pay
is,
could discourage CEOs from taking risks that drive growth and transformation, which could limit a company's ability to seize new opportunities.
but see, this
Um,
doesn't really cap their pay though. It only caps it in ratio to everything else. So if the company does better under this system, the CEO would get paid more.
Another one is that
So,
there's a disproportionate impact here, which I'm not necessarily against. The Tax Excessive CEO Pay Act could disproportionately harm certain sectors of the economy, such as retail and fast food, which tend to rely on lower skilled labor. Opponents worry that this could disrupt the economy and harm global. Okay, all right, maybe not so cut and dry. I'm gonna just say that maybe what we should do is probably run some economic modeling to see whether or not it works. Right?
I would be truly
Because
curious.
I got to tell you, I don't want to fuck with food. Don't fuck with don't. I swear to you,
They're
every time the
already
socialists fuck
fucking
with food,
man.
every
They're
time the
already
socialist screws
fucking
with food,
food.
dude, everything gets screwed up, man.
Dude, since COVID, the prices of food have been just insane, at least in my area.
That's
Like,
true.
I'm seeing double, triple prices on stuff, and a lot of things that used to be staples. Like, I paid $90 for a bag of rice. That shit used to be like $30.
Where are you
Uh,
buying? How much rice are you buying?
oh, I buy it in like 20-kilogram bags. I
Jesus
come from a
Christ!
Korean
What are
family,
you
so
doing with that much? What? Are you,
dude.
why?
But I'm just saying,
Why?
like staples like that normally, like chicken prices,
Uh
like
huh.
things that are normally what lower income
Chicken
people
is still
such as
cheap. I
myself
don't care what
eat.
anybody says. Chicken is still cheap.
It's cheap compared to beef, but beef is like $12 a pound where I live, and it used to be 3.
Hmm.
Chicken, you used to be able to buy a whole chicken for like $3, and now it's like $17.
It
It's
is not
crazy.
$17 for a chicken. Where are you
For
getting that?
a whole
Yes,
chicken, yeah. Yeah.
dude. I will go to um.
I did
I
say it
will go to my
depends on
local
area.
grocery store. Right. I will go to the grocery store and I swear to you, they have an entire chicken already cooked for $7.
The rotisserie chickens you
Yeah.
can get on sale for like $10 here.
$7. Where the hell
Um,
are you? New York?
I'm in the Midwest where
How
things
is it that
should be cheaper.
expensive? It is
I
not that
that
expensive here. And by the way, the $7 rotisserie chicken, I'm getting that from like a nice, it's not like it's not like a Walmart. It's like a nice grocery store chain. It's called Publix. Do you know about it?
I do not have Publix here, but I am aware of the
Okay,
brand.
yeah. So like,
Yeah, here you can get them. They'll occasionally have them on sale for like $10, but that's not like
where are you
with
going?
chicken. You
And
used to be able to just walk into the
Vaneka just
store.
pointed a 20-pound bag of royal basmati rice for $19. Where are you getting these prices from?
It would have been a 20-kilo bag of jasmine rice. That's from like an Asian
A
market.
20-pound kilo of
A,
jasmine rice?
a 20-kilo bag of jasmine rice. So it's about 40 pounds, so about twice that.
20-kilo bag of rice. Publix. All right. I'm pulling it up. All right. I have to choose a store. Hold on. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna dox myself, but
It's all
you'll
right.
just have to take my word for it. Hold on. Oh my god. I hate this. This is terrible.
I mean, you could
Hold
just
on.
look up a pound and multiply it by 40.
Bro.
That'll get you
No,
roughly.
no. I'm gonna find the freaking store. Apparently there's no public store near me. What the what, what what's happening? Just, I know where the Publix is. It's right there. The stupid website. I just need to know how much a bag of rice. Someone look it up. Help me. Help me. I don't even think they have a 20-kilo bag of a 40-pound bag. These nice little old ladies coming from their, from their little apartments in their mobile homes, they're gonna pick up this 40-pound bag of rice. Yeah, right, bro. You got to go to some crazy stuff to find that. Anyway, I think you got your prices off, bro. You there, Crave?
Yeah, sorry. I was muted.
So Crave,
Um,
I'm pulling up the 20-pound bag. It's $19, $18.59. right, for the bag. And this is a 20-pound bag. So if it's double that, right, it's about $40. What's your problem?
Yeah. Well,
where are you getting these numbers?
If I lived where you lived, I probably wouldn't have that problem. But
you're in the Midwest?
Expensive. Yeah.
How is the Midwest that expensive? Isn't that where like farmland is? I don't get it.
It is.
That makes no sense. Why is it that expensive?
I don't know. It's been like this since COVID. Like, I understand prices rose because of supply chains.
Sure.
But then they didn't put them back down. Like, they just said, well, we're making...
Well, yeah, because inflation went up to like 6-7%, and then now it's back down to 3%. But the price that was applied, it's still there.
Yeah, they're not lowering the prices.
No, of course not.
Inflation has gone down. So I personally don't think we would make our situation worse using that model, because things are kind of dire now. It would just mean people would have more money. And I am basically in favor of any system that, equalizes pay at some level. I understand it is not sane to pay everybody the exact same thing. Some people have a more skilled job. Some people have a harder job. Capitalism, supply and demand.
Okay, yeah.
But I do think within a corporation that's producing a product, a good way to even out that pay difference would be some form of scaling like that. So if you work for a profitable company, you should be making good money because you're creating value.
Okay.
Yeah. So, that's my position on that. I think the only other thing, who are you voting for this year?
What do you think?
Well, I'm assuming Biden.
Of course. Of course.
Are you kidding? I'm wait for you to say that.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. No, I am not voting for what? I have so many things to call him. Like,
yeah, dude, I'm just
convicted
not vote for
sex offenders under the New York statute would have been considered a rapist legally. 36-time felon, liar, 36,000 lies during his presidency, narcissist.
I grew up in the 80s when Donald Trump was literally a cartoon character villain. He was like on every cartoon, in some form of another with a sillier name, but he was always the villain. He was always the corrupt businessman.
Yeah.
Like, it kills me that there's so many people in this world that don't seem to remember that there was a time when Trump was kind of synonymous with scum. And my opinion on that hasn't changed. I don't know why other people have. Because it's not like he's become a
when I was a kid, right, I'm younger than you, I'm pretty sure. I'm almost 35. So like, what are you're what? You're
10 years old.
You're 10. Yeah. So you would remember it better. What I remember of Donald Trump was like he was in Home Alone 2, and it was just like, rich guy, nice rich guy. That was it. That was my mentality towards Donald Trump. And then with The Apprentice, he was just like, yeah, he's like a boss, and he's like funny and like, interesting, and he fires people, and like, that's really cool. That's kind of where I was at with Trump. And then he went completely off the deep end.
And another thing that may be a product of my time, could be because I'm Gen X, I don't know. But I have this thing about not wanting to glorify politicians. I have a mentality that politicians are my employees. And so I kind of gauge them on a...
It's probably not a bad mentality to have, to be honest.
If I was running a McDonald's and this person was cooking fries this badly, would I fire this person?
Yes. I would say so, yes.
And the way that politicians have become like this cult thing where you can't speak negatively about your dude, you sound like an old man. Mm-hmm. In my day, you didn't really talk about who you were voting for. And what you saw was
point,
like the country wasn't divided in red and blue.
It's people's identity now. That's the thing. It's people's identity. That's what's crazy about it.
politicians have merch, and that is so
Hmm.
crazy to me that people walk around with like a hat, a t-shirt,
Yeah.
a flag in front of their house.
Yeah.
Like it used to be maybe a pin when on the day that you voted, but they do this 24/7. They've been doing it for
Bro,
8 years
are you
now.
seeing the freaking like the trucks with the freaking the Trump flag, like 6 or 7 Trump flags and like 3 freaking like crazy banners, and like I'm just like, what is wrong with these people? They're so psychotic. I don't
Dude,
understand.
I watched some clips of the RNC this morning, and when I saw the people with all the bandages on their ear in the audience,
Hmm.
I laughed for like 7 minutes straight. I cannot see,
Oh, you're
like,
talking
it's
about the
almost
people
like
that were like showing up with their own like pretend
ear
bandages.
bandage.
That is
Yes,
so
yes.
weird.
And I just
Tell me you're
cannot
not a cult. Like, how
comprehend.
are you not a cult? You're a cult, right?
I just can't comprehend that level of even liking your
It's
politician, let
freaking
alone
crazy, dude.
love, revering. It kind of goes along with Trump.
Yeah,
Just like Trump was seen as criminals, crooked, whatever in my time,
yeah.
that's how we saw politicians too. But it's like now people have this mindset of your guy's crooked, but mine is not. Your guy's bad, but mine can do no wrong. And I
It's
feel like
crazy.
that level of fervor about our politicians is just so bad for our country. We need to be like Australia. Like they barely tolerate their politicians. When one of them slips up, like it could be there was a thing where their prime minister, ex-prime minister, whatever, uh, said something about wanting this woman accepting an award to smile, and she didn't smile. And they ridiculed him for like 3 months over that, and he lost the next election. Like, that's the level of scrutiny we need to have on our politicians. We need to kick them to the curb, like, the moment they do not live up to our expectations. So that leads into my real question, and that's who would you like to be voting for this year? Like, if you could see
I mean,
anyone
like
run,
me, like there's a non-zero chance that Biden actually does end up stepping down. I said earlier
I
that
kind of,
he's not, but like, I mean, he had made it clear, but I've been seeing there's been more and more news talking about him potentially stepping down, and so I don't. We'll see what happens. We will see.
I like Biden, but the dude should have retired 10 years ago.
Oh, completely
Like,
agree.
I
Completely agree.
truly feel
Totally agree.
bad when I see him
Complete.
because
Yeah.
I think of my grandmother and what an ordeal it must be for him to be traveling.
It's got to be
Um,
horrendous.
but my question is, if you could choose anyone in the world who would you want to be voting for this year?
Who would I want to be voting?
Yeah,
Like, it should Biden step down?
just in general. Like, if Biden wasn't even like a factor in this, if you could just wake up tomorrow, check the news, and see so and so is running, who would you like to see? Who would you be excited to vote
See, this
for?
is where it comes like to like the problem that I'm having is that you could imagine like a person that I would like to get voted in, and then like what is realistic to getting voted in, right?
I don't care about realism. I just want to know you personally. Who would you like to see? I'm just curious. Because I've been thinking about this with the thought that Biden might be stepping down. And I'm like, who could they put up? Who would I be happy to vote for?
Who is
And
that
so
one? The who is the that one gay politician? What was his name? Gavin Newsom? Am I getting that
Gavin
right?
Newsom. Mm,
He would be a good selection. My mom told me, oh yeah, Pete Buttigieg. Sorry, Vanaka's right. Pete Buttigieg.
Pete Buttigieg. He ran against Hillary, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he would be a good
Or
choice.
or was it last year? Was
You
it
know,
last year he ran?
I just want somebody that is going to listen to experts.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Thank you.
I just need somebody that's like not in la la land, right? Just like
That's
operate
and
as
that's
if
why.
that you're like a person that is a leader that doesn't know everything. And
And
sometimes it's
that's why
good to
Trump
listen
is
to people
so
who know what
bad.
they're talking about. And like, I think that's really important. And Donald Trump isn't that. And it's really upsetting
He's
to
the
see.
opposite of that.
Yes, it's
Like
the
he's
most
literally
upsetting
the
thing.
opposite.
And like, and just so you know, right, President George W. Bush, he was the same way. He didn't listen to his experts. What he did instead was he would just operate on his quote unquote gut feeling.
Gut.
His gut.
Yep.
That's what he would say. That what he's like, I don't trust the expert. I gotta go with my gut. And I'm like, bro, you are literally driving us into war. You are driving us into war, and there's going to be thousands of Americans dead because of your decision. And you're going to go with your gut? Are you out of your fucking mind? What's wrong with you?
So here's something we might be able to debate. Let me get your take on this. The war that George W. started.
Yeah.
Do you feel that that was truly about like vengeance, whatever, flexing our muscle? Or do you think that that was in some way motivated by money?
For sure, it was there to stop terrorism. For sure. It was a definite response to the 9/11 attacks, and that is what the meetings were situated around regarding George W. Bush as well as Dick Cheney. Also, at the same time, they had additional people on their hit list that they wanted to get rid of, and what they tried to do was kind of pair it all up into one thing. So an example of this was when they went after Hussein. They were saying, okay, well, we're after terrorism, and while Hussein isn't there, Hussein is in Iraq, and we can go over there and take care of that real quick. And so that's kind of what I was observing. It was just kind of like they had their hit list and what they wanted, and then there was also the fact that they unironically did think that weapons of mass destruction was there, and Dick Cheney was legitimately terrified over the idea that there could be weapons of mass destruction and cause death upon millions of Americans as a result of his neglect under his watch. And so he was like, I don't want to do that. Do you understand?
Okay. Yeah, I do. I think we're actually kind of similar on this. Like, I'm not conspiracy brained. I believe the attacks were genuine. My biggest, like, I don't know, question mark about the whole thing was I feel like at the time we kind of knew like this stuff was getting traced back to Saudi Arabia. I think we kind of knew like it was not going to trace back to Iraq. I'm pretty sure like people not in Iraq like claimed the attack like long before we deployed troops. And so it seems strange to me that we went after Iraq. And for me, I always kind of thought it came down to, okay, here's an opportunity for us to make money, churn that war machine.
Well, the problem is that like
I can agree
who ends up looking for war is not going to be the corporations. They're not the ones that convince people. What happens is that war generals convince the necessity of war, right? And the war generals are not beholden to the corporations that make the product. Right?
You think
they can care less on where it comes from.
And now this isn't me saying you're wrong. This was a genuine question. You think that the war in Iraq was started because a war general said,
suspect of the weapons of mass destruction. There was a specific portion where war generals were concerned about weapons of mass destruction. There was a particular one of them that said that gave a press briefing that was not a press briefing, a presidential briefing, arguing that there was weapons of mass destruction, and the arguments that were found were particularly weak, right? And even the president wasn't impressed by it, but they were genuinely afraid about the weapons of mass destruction And then they asked the war general, they said, do you think that there's weapons of mass destruction? And his statement, this is what solidified going into war over this, was he said, it's a slam dunk. That's what he said.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's a slam dunk. And so when he said that, that was it. That was enough to convince Cheney and Bush and everybody to go ahead and fund the war to stop terrorism and stop weapons of mass destruction.
Okay. So I think we basically agree on this. Like, we both kind of assume that it was more of a, let's get this. There was a motive beyond just, we think this is where the attacks came. It was a matter of convenience to get rid of Saddam Hussein. Mm-hmm. We may have been worried about the weapons, but it was more of an excuse to do it than we think we're actually going after the ones responsible for this.
Yes.
All right. And as far as Afghanistan goes, I do believe that was a more direct, okay, we're going after the people. Like, I think that they did truly believe that they were going to find the people responsible, like Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan. And he wasn't far off.
Well, there's
just over the border, right?
Well, no, he was in Pakistan, and I'm actually reading another book about that, where they had to make a decision as to whether or not they wanted to pour more funding into Pakistan, or if they wanted to pour more money into I forget if it was Iraq or not. Anyway, the point is that they had that this was under the Obama administration. They could have caught him earlier. They really could have.
I think the way they handled it was great, though.
Oh no, that execution was that's straight out of a movie. It was amazing. It was incredible.
And that's the way I want to see my tax dollars spent. You know, not a 10-year war. Like, just sending a bunch of guys on a chopper, take care of the problem, and we're done.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think we're pretty good on that. Middle East. You want to talk about Middle East?
If you want.
Where do you stand on it?
Are you talking about between
Israel
Palestine and Israel?
Yeah.
Can I just tell you? I'm just going to say it. Okay. I think both Hamas and the Israeli government freaking suck. They're both awful people. I hate both of these groups of people. They're awful. And I don't have any, I have very little sympathy towards people that don't have sympathy towards like humans or humanity. It's just a really, I don't like it. Does that make sense?
It does. And I'm just going to add a little bit onto that because I also agree with that. They just strike me as people who just aren't going to be happy until the other is gone.
Yes.
Like, there's just that deep level of hatred. And that's why I feel any kind of peace talks fail as long as these are the people in charge.
Well, I personally would like to see a one-state solution where both can just kind of get along and we respect the private property rights of every individual, be it Palestinian or I don't believe there ought to be a Palestinian state, and I don't believe there ought to be like a, the Jewish Israeli state. I think that, dude, both of you need to get along. Like, it's just ridiculous that y'all are fighting over this. Like, everybody should be able to live in harmony, just like every other Western country. There's zero reason for this to not be the case. And there's fault on both sides, and nobody is good faith here. It's awful. I hate it.
So, I want to say I agree. Just to add a little bit to that, the way it was explained to me is that it comes down to like some deep, like religious, a lot of past anger, with their belief systems, like the conflict there. And those are the things that largely stop the one state solution from happening.
No, I'm aware. But they have the idea of that one of them believes it's their holy land.
Yeah, and the other one has been living there for 1,000 years.
Yeah, exactly, and it's like it's awful. I hate it. Why do you think we have a separation of church and state? This is why. This is one example. This is one example. Like, anybody who argues for like the theocracy or whatever, like, you're terrible. You suck.
Absolutely. But so here's my hot take on it, and that's I don't want us to be involved. Like, I fully support paying whatever we need to evacuate people that want to leave the area.
Disagree.
Um,
Disagree there.
but I feel like we need to be hands off on the Middle East. I feel like the West has fucked the Middle East to such an extent. And I'm not just talking about America. I mean, I feel Britain is largely responsible for the current mess there. Um, I feel like we need to step back from this and let them sort themselves out.
Hmm.
So if you disagree on it, maybe we have a debate here. Why do you disagree? If you do.
Uh, hold on. So the reason why I disagree with that is because I believe that it is in the United States' best interest to spreading democracy as much as it possibly can. I know that may seem like a terrible thing to say, but the reality is that you either pick authoritarian systems or you pick democratic systems. And
Don't they already have democratic systems?
well, they do, but so here's the thing, right? In Israel, that is the case.
Okay.
That is not the case in Saudi Arabia, nor is that the case in most of the Middle East, right?
But
They
isn't that the
operate
case
under the
in
basis of a
Palestine?
theocracy. Well, I'm saying they operate under the basis of a theocracy. They push
So you're
Sharia law.
thinking
You have
that's
Wahhabis
another country.
bullying the Ahmadis and all sorts of other people. And like the Wahhabis have all the money and all these other Muslims don't have the money, but they like to subjugate gay people. They subjugate women. They subjugate law. They want to instill Sharia law. It's horrendous. It's a nightmare, right? And so
But can't Sharia law and democracy coexist?
no.
I thought Sharia was just like their version of like our Ten Commandments. Like it was I mean, most of our
No.
laws are based on Christian belief, so I would assume
No. No.
because don't they have
No,
elections like in
our
Iran?
laws are based in spite of it, not in favor of Christianity. Absolutely not. Completely disagree. In fact, under the First Amendment, it specifically states that there is a separation of church and state.
No. I get what you're saying. Like the worshiping God parts, I understand are not part of our law, nor have they been quite the opposite. But I'm saying like the basis of I guess maybe laws is bad. Like, look at decency. All right, the profanity that can be used on TV, the things that can appear on TV, a lot of that was controlled by religious beliefs in modesty.
Yes,
Like what women could wear, what people should say.
sure.
That's what I mean when I say, like, our way of life is kind of rooted in a lot of these Christian values because they were the ones that founded the country. I do understand we have a strong separation.
The
I approve of
Christians
that.
back then would have been deists, not your modern Christian that you would imagine today,
No,
but
but they
rather
were
this
Puritan.
belief. Well, it depends. I mean, it doesn't matter. The point that I'm
Okay.
trying to make regarding the Middle East is that I want to see United States interests upheld, right? And OPEC doesn't have the interest of the United States, right? They have their
All right,
interests in mind, and they don't care if they step on you to make that a reality, right? And so
What interests do
it's
we have in the Middle East that we need that matter to us? What do
oil,
you feel is important? Do you think
oil,
that that's that important? Are we not trying to cut ourselves off from foreign
correct?
oil?
But you still have it. Like you can't just eschew OPEC. It's literally the world's oil.
I apologize. I'm not sure how close we are to being independent. Do you know?
I mean, we are more independent than we were in the 70s, but I mean, in the past, we've had issues regarding OPEC creating trade embargoes on the United States.
So, like by third party, like they would influence others not to trade with us if we were to not buy their oil.
Correct. Yeah. Do you well, no. Specifically, what happened was, I mean, that was as a result of the Yom Kippur War. There was the Yom Kippur War. the response of that was the United States defended Israel against, I think it was both Syria and Egypt, trying to make a land grab. And then the response was that OPEC decided to create a trade embargo on the United States. And then because the United States didn't have enough of infrastructure to actually supply oil, we're about 2 to 3 weeks away from mass starvation, because the trucks wouldn't have been able to have enough gasoline to actually get food to like grocery stores. And so the United States did what was the most responsible thing, was to threaten that they were going to turn the entire Middle East into a parking lot if they don't turn the fucking spigot on, and here's my money.
Well, that is interesting. I was not aware of that. So, okay, let me add a bit to that question then. So, what do you imagine would happen if we just kind of dusted off our hands and said, look, we'll help evacuate people if they want to leave, but we're done in the Middle East, like meshing. You guys are on your own. Do you think OPEC would cut us off for that? Wouldn't they be happy if we did that?
Well, I think what would happen is that the entirety of Israel would basically get completely consumed by the powers around them. It would just basically completely ruin that. And then
You don't think
it would not
force them
surprise me to see, it would not surprise me to see a giant war waged on Israel, knowing that the United States is not there to help them. So you would see a giant genocide, but in the opposite direction. You would see less democracy happen in the world as a result, and instead a rise in theocracy for the next several decades to come. This would also bolster Islamic extremism, which could also further threaten the United States. It's a terrible idea. We should not be leaving. It's terrible. The implications are bad.
Again, man, this is a discussion. I'm open to all your ideas. I'm not really arguing too much for it, as much as asking questions about it for your reasoning.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't think we've reached a stage where if we, and I get the risk of this, it would not be worth it in your mind, but I just want your opinion on it. If we step back, you do not think that we have reached a point in time, they have reached a point in development where Israel might not just say, okay, oh shit, maybe we need to be more reasonable in our talks, and the people around them would not just immediately wipe them out? Like, would it be possible for Israel to negotiate and for them to respond in good faith and for them to find their own peace without us?
OPEC has a lot of power. Right. And so, like, if the United States just pulled out, they would easily just have enough firepower to take over Israel pretty instantly.
But do you think
they would kill as many Jews as they can? They would not care.
So they would just do that in your opinion?
Oh yeah. Okay. The Wahhabis do that to their own. Right? You what makes you think that they wouldn't do that?
I honestly don't know. I don't know that much about it.
Considering that Wahhabis do it to their own Muslims, the idea that they wouldn't do this to the Jews, I mean, to me, it's obvious what would happen. Okay. The end result is so much worse than if just it's a freaking mess over there, man. I mean, to be fair, it's awful.
I agree that it is a mess. I mean, it's such a mess that I spend hours reading about it, watching videos explaining it. Watched Destiny study for a while. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I do. I did like Destiny for a while. I don't know if I don't really watch his stuff anymore, so I don't know what his takes
I like
are.
his research stuff. Like when he's researching topics, like I find that interesting.
That's pretty cool.
And he did.
Maybe like I should do that sometime.
I mean, it's basically him like taking notes. Like you can see him like scrolling through the websites that he's researching on. And he kind of talks to his viewers as he does it.
That's pretty cool.
And it's like him preparing for debates. I think that was how he prepared for the modern day debate.
That's great.
That he did. But point was, So what little I know about it, I know through all these sources, and it's still a mess. It's still just so hard to understand all the different factions and who's mad at each other and why.
Yeah.
Um, and that's really why my brain keeps going to maybe we just need to stay out of this. But I do agree with
We're
you that
already
they
in
have
too deep. Like,
already.
honestly, like if I had we have to deal with the cards that we currently have. And the reality is that, I mean, if we had a Doc Allen with a time machine, then, you know, we would go back in time to tell Jimmy Carter to not sign the Palestinian-Israeli peace agreement. That's unironically what we would need to do.
It is, and I just, yeah. How do you see it ending at this point? Like, do you just see this as like a forever war where we're just constantly supplying Israel and they're just killing off their people?
It's so hard to say. I mean, to speculate, because it's like there's too many variables in action to really see where it will go. If you want me to see where I would like, I mean, I already told you where I would like it to go.
There's the one state, and I agree. I think that would be the ideal solution.
So what?
Because
Okay,
the way they've carved it up is not
all
good.
right. You're probably not going to like this answer, but I think it's unironically probably the solution. So, it would need to have. It would basically need to have a very strict government that would have both equal Islamic and Jewish religious types. And they would basically have to come together and agree that they both want peace and that they both have to share the land, and that it would have to be like, you know, within agreement. And it would basically need to be super authoritarian about this, like really, really authoritarian, like really violent, like for anybody who disrespects it. Like that would be the only, that I don't see any other way.
You know what? I think that's a good idea. Do you know much about the history of Rome?
I do not. I mean,
Okay.
I know a little bit, not, I haven't read any books on it though. I should.
There's a podcast called History of Rome that I highly recommend. Like,
Yeah.
really great stuff. But for a long time, they had dual rulers. They would have two people in charge because they were really like anti-king, anti-emperor, all that.
Yeah.
Would you see something like that with them having like two presidents?
Just imagine it would be like a religious parliament, right? Of
But who would be the
equal
president?
Israeli to Islamic people. I'm sorry, Jewish and Islamic people. That's basically what I would argue.
But if you have like, because they do have a president, right? Netanyahu?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, they would just have a parliament for this to settle land disputes and, you know, make it so where things would be peaceful and be super authoritarian to people that want to blow people up.
But wouldn't who the president is be an issue with that? Like during the periods where you have
No, you can just have
a
separate. It's fine.
Okay. Because I was seeing something more like America. I understand. I agree with the authoritarian thing. I think it would have to start super authoritarian.
Mind you, I'm not in favor of authoritarianism generally, but like sometimes it's necessary.
Agreed.
And I think in the extremity of specifically the Middle East with Israel, I don't see any other way.
It would have to be authoritarian in terms of conflict. Like they would have to have like a zero tolerance policy on any acts of violence.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I mean, I don't feel like they, have to force people to eat certain foods authoritarian, but like, yeah, in terms of conflict, absolutely. And they could gradually ease off of that, over centuries as people simmer down a bit. I do agree with that. And the parliament thing also. My only real sticking point is just the overall leader, but hey, I think we did pretty good for an afternoon. We brought peace to the Middle East. So I'm good, man. Thanks for
all right, dude. Yeah, Crave. I'm glad talking to you, man. Always a pleasure.